I find myself often asking, how do I tell if I'm an adult? I've met older people that are immature and act like they're still in high school. So what does it take to be an adult? The best I could come up with is not dying before you turn 18. So I have a hard time identifying as an adult, especially since I still feel like a kid. That being said, I want to talk with other, quote, adults and learn from them. After all, the quickest and typically the most painless way to learn is through others. Somehow, we're adults.
But I thought podcast meant,
Well, we do
I
both.
got a face for radio. Fuck, you set me up for failure here.
We
got prime time now.
So we were doing audio only, but the thing with podcasts that I like is you can't see, like when you have a conversation with somebody, like we're having a conversation right now, like you can see my mannerisms, you can see me like moving my hands, and like with audio only, it's great if you're not, like if you're doing something where you can't watch it, like if you're like driving or something. But like I like the idea that you can like see the mannerisms that somebody's making, you can see what's happening around them and stuff like that, because sometimes like you'll be responding like if you were listening
to a text message, you can't exactly understand the tone behind it, or when there is tone, you can witness their reaction.
Yeah.
It just paints the whole picture.
Yeah, try and bring that mic up closer to you. We want crispy Cody. It like whole thing moves. Should be there. You go. Might be a little tight.
Wow.
You're good.
All right.
Just bring it home to you. All right.
Wow, I wanted to do that.
You just wish it was a beer.
I just wanted the sound to be on there,
We can look. We got. It's just straight up crazy these days, man.
Technology, man.
I'm telling you, it's been a long time. Well, so what's new with you, man? Besides your beautiful puppy, how long have you had? So people that are just listening, Cody brought his puppy Zeus.
He I've only had him a month. I got him. I can't remember the exact date. It was like the first week of January when I got off. We went on vacation after Christmas, and when we got back, I had graduated nursing school prior to going Christmas and all that in the second week of December. And after that, just had a lot more time, and I had been thinking about getting a dog. I wanted a dog. My family's family dog. He was a red-nosed pit bull. He was 16 years old. He had quite a bit of health problems and stuff, like blind in one eye, deaf in both, arthritis from being just a big dog and everything like that. So kind of saw it coming, and basically I wanted to get a puppy and kind of like have them interact to see if it would help him mature and stuff like that, and maybe
be around a more mature puppy.
Yeah, and the dog's name was Magic. He just knew what to do, so hopefully he would just follow the mannerisms like we were talking about, just act like him. Didn't work that way. Magic, he passed away 2 weeks ago, so basically he saw the dog, like, I don't know if Zeus just wore his ass out, just freaking
he said, I'm done.
He said, all right, y'all are good now.
Yeah.
And sent out, but
yeah.
Yeah. And I got him. I did a lot of looking and stuff like that. I just I don't know. I just wanted a dog.
What breed is he?
Cane Corso. He's an Italian Mastiff. He's a big boy.
Pick him up. Show him to the camera.
That's right. Come here, boy. He's out here chewing on his leash, wondering what's going on.
He's a gorgeous color. He's like a deep gray.
They call it blue, but he's oh god, he's fat. Is what he is. Not really.
That's gonna be a big dog.
35 pounds
Hi
already.
there, buddy. Hi there.
He's 16 weeks at that.
He's a good guy. He's a big baby.
He's
super soft.
Oh yeah, got that puppy fur and stuff on him. And if you look, you'll see some. I think he's gonna end up like he'll still be called Blue, but if you look, he's got a little bit of the brindle in him, like those brown spots coming through. I think when he gets older, it's gonna be one of those things that'll show its head more.
Yeah.
But I love the color. I love how he looks. He's
super soft.
Super soft. He's actually not fat. He's very well proportioned. He's gonna be, like you said, he's gonna be big.
Yeah, gonna be big. How old is he now?
4 months is gonna be tomorrow, which is 16 weeks.
He wants to play. He's been locked up today.
Yeah, he's been locked up.
Yeah.
But he's not high energy at all. He's not high energy at all.
You're good. You can hear it when you're getting too far away.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry. Look, I'm gonna let this fat look back on the floor.
All right, you're good.
He's bigger than my lap now already.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, in a couple months, you're not gonna be able to put him up there no more.
Oh no.
So, what's going on with school, man? I know you're. So, you're back in school now, or
No.
are you on break?
I'm done. I've
You're done?
graduated. I got my 4-year, my bachelor's in nursing. I have to take my NCLEX, my boards and everything right now, and I just actually signed up for this program called UWorld. It's like a 30-day crash course thing for like I said, the licensing test and everything. And it's just review material, questions, finding out your weak points, strong points, stuff like that,
Right.
how to hit. And I'm going to do that for about 30 days out. Hopefully that gets me prepared where I need to do, take the test, and at that point we can practice.
Yeah.
Practice nursing.
Yeah, well, you're kind of doing like an interning thing right now as it is, right?
That was while I was in school. After I graduated and everything, that stopped. But I was working my preceptorship, which is where I work underneath a already registered nurse and everything like that. I work underneath her and I work with her. She was amazing. I got to work at Tampa General Hospital, which is one of the best hospitals, let alone in the state and the country. I mean, they're level
Huge
1,
hospital, yeah.
huge hospital.
Yeah.
Their resources, their knowledge, experimental treatments on things, everything there is really stimulating day in and day out. I did the emergency room there, and their emergency room, like we were just talking about, has a trauma center. The things you see there are crazy. We had things you wouldn't see at any other hospital because they just wouldn't send people. Those
Right.
type of people wouldn't be sent there. So I got a lot of experience right out of the gate, which was good, and I liked a lot of it. It really put me an interest, too, in possibly trauma nursing and stuff like that, because I like that type of feeling of being on your feet. And with other aspects of nursing that are more mentally stimulating and stuff, you have to watch sometimes a lot of gradual decline, and you can watch patients go down and stuff like that, and it just kind of, you develop personal connections with them sometimes like that, whereas this type of nursing,
You're not around them that long.
no, but you still get the trauma, and it takes a certain stomach. You got to have a certain stomach for it, like with the idea of like firefighters and stuff rolling up on the bloody messes. Basically, the trauma unit is what the bad stuff is coming off of emergency services, coming from the street to a brick and mortar establishment rather
Right.
than just being treated on the truck. And
Right.
I mean, it's
The truck is there to package them to get them to you guys.
yes,
Right.
It's coming with gunshot wounds. They get hit by cars, massive strokes, heart attacks, things like that. I mean, we had, yeah, he's down there.
Yeah.
Being, I don't know.
No, he's
what.
cute, man. He's cute.
But yeah, we see all kinds of stuff. I got to see EVDs where we drill in people's head. We relieve the pressure from them swelling and stuff.
Holy
like
crap.
that. We've had to do. There's a thing called a Steinman pin. A guy came on. He was riding a crotch rocket, and I think it was just a regular pickup, but he got hit going like 110 or something like that. His pelvis was shattered. His I believe it was his right knee. His right knee was dislocated, and his tibia was cracked in half. So
He's friggin' lucky that's it.
yeah, well, it was all bone damage. There was, and some soft tissue, but nothing major or anything like that. And one of my most, the hair stands up on the back of your neck thing. It's called a Steinman pin, where I was working with these orthotech doctors.
Make sure. I hate to keep telling you this, but just keep the mic up on you. You're good. You're good.
We work with these orthotech doctors, and they shoot a pin. It's not like it is an extent like a drill bit, but just a drill bit on the end. It went through there, all 3 bones in your knee joint right there, to join them together so it couldn't separate before they can go interiorly and put rods, pins, and screws and stuff.
So it's like a temporary, like a Band-Aid for your inside of your knee.
Yes, but the sound it makes, it's
Oh.
drills a little bit, and then it's got a little bit of almost it's the rod is this long, and it goes through the actual drill, the drill that they use to place this pin. So when it shoots through it, literally, it's like the idea of archery, like an arrow, and I had to hold pressure on his pelvis to hold the femur in place, and there's another guy on the bottom of it that holds his foot and leg and everything, because you rotate it to keep your 2 bottom leg bones and everything to keep in the right angle. And obviously, it's not, when everything's broken, it doesn't feel great. It's pretty painful. So we had to give them lots of meds and everything to make sure they're all right, and we can't put them underneath anesthesia for it. It's just the length of the procedure isn't long enough, so they kind of just knock them out for a second and bring them right back. But we shoot the pin through, and it was one of the most, I was holding his leg.
So you could feel it and hear it.
You felt it, and the shock ran up through your bones. You could almost feel that pin go through. It felt like it was my bone or something like that, but
So this leads me to my next question. What made you want to go into the medical field?
because that shit makes me not want to go into the medical field.
Initially, it actually made me not want to do it either. I was actually I liked science, I liked biology and things like that coming out of high school, so I actually attempted initially to be pre-med, be a doctor.
Right.
That went moderately mediocre, which doesn't get you into med school. Believe it or not,
I'm sure
C's don't get degrees there, so that just didn't work for me.
I bet you there's a lot of C grade doctors out there right now that would probably disagree with you.
Well, it doesn't get you into med school. Once you're in med school, if you see out, then.
Yeah.
But my GPA to apply for it was very subpar, so we had to turn an alternate route. What are we going to do? So I went into the idea of nursing and possibly becoming a nurse practitioner, something like a doctor, going that route. And as of right now,
You got tired of school?
I'm not thrilled with going back to school, having to do anything else. I'm ready to practice, do something, and make a paycheck at the end of this.
You're tired of screwing with it. You're ready to do something. Now, you didn't grow did any of your family, were they like big in the medical field growing up? Like what steered you to go in that direction? Was it like a personal experience, or were you just
like I said, as far as that, I was just early on in high school and things like that. I was better in schooling and things like that. I was at I was upper portion of the class and everything like that. And like I said, I excelled in science and math. That was my things. I can read. I read well. I can't write worth fuck.
Well, it sounds like you're perfect for a doctor. You gotta be able to read and can't write for shit.
And my handwriting's terrible. I can't elaborate anything. That fucking can is purple. Some people can tell you it's got polka dots. They can say it glimmers in the light.
Yeah.
Purple.
Right.
That's just how my brain works, math and science. And I have an interest in biology and how things like that work. Plants grow, your cells regenerate, the mitochondria is a powerhouse of the cell. Everybody remembers that part.
You were the one that was targeted with that. Okay, got it. Because definitely wasn't me. Because I don't get that shit.
I thought it was fascinating and things like that, how that type of biology happens. So being a doctor, it fell hand.
No, you're good. I'm just pulling it up to you because you keep leaning back to the same spot, but you're not bringing the mic with you. You're good.
But yeah, I do stuff like that. I just find that very interesting, like how it works, genetics, things like that. It's just one of those things. I was like, all right, doctor, don't know what kind of doctor I'm going to be, but as far as following biology, that's the best thing I could see.
Right.
Fixing people.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
I don't know. It was just something like that. And then as far as nursing, I do have an uncle that went into the nursing field. It is one of those things where you work hard, you still work full time. A lot of people that are nurses don't like this, but you basically only work half a week. You only work 3 days out of the week.
Right.
And I can do whatever the hell else I want to do for those other 4 days. Whether it be relax, it could be leisure, or I can do what I do now and make more money.
Right.
So like what I was kind of leading towards too, like your parents weren't anything to do with the medical field.
They were a push for it. They very much pushed for it. My parents still would like me to go back and be a practitioner. They don't want me to stop at being a registered nurse. But
doesn't everybody want their kid to be a doctor though? Like go make $400,000 a year. Like have a job where it's not destroying you physically.
Well, that's the thing too, though. Nowadays, people think that. There's a lot of doctors out there that make great money, but the debt that comes with med school and everything like that, it really counteracts it. Because if you're going in and working at some of these lower-paying hospitals and things like that, you're after your debt for med school and the simple things like
you're basically making $40,000 a year at that point.
You're making the same thing everybody else is until you get that paid off, which is very, very disheartening for the amount of work and sacrifice that goes into it. Literally,
it's your life.
8 years of absolute nothing but bookwork, unless you're a gifted prodigy, and it's just really sometimes it's just a personal decision whether that's worth that for you or not.
Right, if the juice is worth the squeeze.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, so growing up, I had a lot of like health conditions and stuff like that, and a lot of problems. And I saw a lot of doctors and was in the medical industry a lot. And, I saw like the good, bad, and ugly parts of it. But I just had just from being around it so much, I had such a negative connotation with it too that like once I was out, I'm like, I want to be away from that.
Well, oddly enough, the thing about it is the trauma aspect of it is exactly what I said when I was contemplating my pre-med stay and everything like that. What type of doctor would I want to be? And I said, I don't want to work with blood and guts. I don't want to see people.
Right.
And
you just got done with
now,
trauma.
it turns out it's very trying not to make
stimulating.
It sound gruesome. Yeah, stimulating is a good word
right.
for it.
It makes your day go by quick. Someone comes in,
you on your feet and moving.
Yeah, it's like any kind of high adrenaline situation. You like get a
you get into that situation and you're so focused on the task at hand that you're not worried about what you're having for dinner that night. What did you eat for lunch? You're worried about like if I zig when I'm supposed to zag right now, this guy might lose his life, or he'll never be able to use that leg again. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And that I think when you're in that situation, I mean, like you've hunted before. You've been hunting most of your life. Like something that I love about hunting is like when you see an animal that you're planning on taking a shot at, like time seems to stand still, but go super fast at the same time. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I can like after
you're planning out your move before it happens, right? And then the possibilities.
That adrenaline starts pumping. You're so focused on what you're doing. You're not worried about what you're going to do after. You're worried about like, okay, you know, this is when it becomes life and death. I think that's when that really like that focus just comes like fully to the front end of and you just can't worry about other things. And I think that's probably what you're referring to that you like.
Yeah, is that in the environment for some reason? It seems another part of it seems gruesome. A lot of the your fellow coworkers that work in an emergency department have a different demeanor about their day when they go about their day than other aspects of nursing. Like,
what do you mean?
The emergency department seems just to be overall very much more lighthearted, but in the sense of the trade of what we're doing every day and comes with that, other people can see as desensitized, and to an extent it is desensitized. Right. Because of the state of America and what we live in and everything with just for instance, people drink a case of Bush a day, they smoke a pack of cigarettes a day, they have diabetes and have absolutely no care in the world to actually follow a doctor or a healthcare recommended regimen, whether it be the diet or whatever they're doing. Come here with things and there's just I don't want to say make fun of it, but you just joke about it like hell. The demeanor is different there. Whereas if you go onto like a floor or something like that.
Excuse me. When you say floor, like a specialized, like this is the cardiac floor. This is
yes, they have floor, and there's certain things called like a med surge, which is like when you're healing and everything, and you're on your way out. Where med surge is like pill passing, really shots. You're just giving medications, making sure they're comfortable for whatever it may be, monitoring scans, things like that, where they're not critical anymore, or if there's no major underlying issue you're worried about, anything like that. Because like with old people, sometimes still they could come in with not a lot wrong with them, but because of their age and stuff, it puts them in categories where they're at risk for a lot of things, like just for example falls and stuff. If they have a broken bone in a fall, they're at risk for a major blood clot and DVTs and things like that, just for the simple of their age and everything. Their body doesn't work like it used to, things like that.
Your immune system over time depletes and your bones become brittle and
it's just really the marvel of medicine. I mean, we're pushing people to live longer than they would have been before, but the also thought of living like that is we are reaching new complications we never saw before and pushing people, not say pushing them, but allowing them to their lives to be extended that long. Different problems arise where before they just never would have got that old to see that.
Right. I mean, what was like 200 years ago, the life expectancy was like 60s. At the most, you know what I mean? Like
and probably not even literally like late 40s to late 50s.
You were a grown man at like age 14.
Yeah, but they told
pretty much after puberty, they're like, all right, you're good, let's go.
Yeah, but and also just things we know about in that day, like back then, hell, you got a headache, drink some booze, you know what I'm saying? Knock the edge off it. Hell, you're 15, you're old enough to drink, get after it,
Yeah.
Smoke a cigarettes because it's cool.
Yeah.
Things like that we just learn over time and stuff. It's
for sure. I mean, I want to know, like, in 100 years from now, what's going to be the crazy shit like that we look back on from 100 years ago? You know what I mean? Like alcohol was illegal 100 years ago, or there was like prohibition and shit, and it's like now we're like I think in 100 years from now it's probably going to be different drugs. You know what I mean?
Well, that's another thing too. Like as you just talked about, like in the 50s and stuff. Hell, when the 50s and 60s, 40s, earlier than that, when we were starting to have this like expansion of drugs and things like that, hell, we were passing them out like candy. Hell, they were miracle cure-alls. They weren't like cocaine, temporary things. Yeah, cocaine was literally, your heart's beating a little slow. We'll bump that right up.
Yeah. Well, like I'm reading a book about Coca-Cola, and like Coca-Cola, everyone knows, like had trace amounts of cocaine in it. Like everyone drank that. Oh, yeah. The president of the United States drank Vin Mariani, which was what Coke modeled their drink after. So like literally like Coke, their first drink was like a wine, but it was a wine with a coca wine. So it was made with cocaine leaves or coca leaves, which is where cocaine comes from. And like the president used to drink it all the time. Like
that's a hell of a buzz.
Yeah.
There.
Well, it's like we know about like Kennedy was on like what, meth or something stupid like that? Like,
Oh, well, like it's talking about with painkillers and things like that.
Yeah.
They were passing out. If it killed the pain, it didn't matter. I mean, hell,
Yeah.
they could freaking be zonked out nine times out of 10 but they're in pain. They take the meds and they think it's all right.
Yeah.
He's not in pain anymore.
yeah,
And to that then was a marvel, a miracle of medicine, the fact that they were able to take that pain away. But what was the stakes and what were the consequences these medicines were causing?
Side effects.
Side
Yeah.
effects. There are things that we're seeing now where limiting the dosage, limiting the amount of time they're allowed to be on them and things like that. And stuff like that. And it's something that you just said also with like, have you ever seen on Instagram this guy that eats like raw meat?
well, Liver King.
No, not Liver King. I've seen him too. There's this guy, the raw meat experiment. Every day he goes out and eats like some raw meat and raw eggs and like literally raw cow milk. And he makes the most, everybody on the, not everybody, he's been around for a while. So now he's starting to get followers that are like, yeah, do it, dude. But a lot of people were talking crap like, you're going to fucking die.
Yeah.
You're literally going to fucking die.
Yeah, cool. Because
But-
that's what you thought 30 years ago.
And he goes, people didn't just start out cooking food.
Yeah.
That was his only argument. He
Yeah.
gave nothing else. He goes, they used to just literally do this, and we got here.
Yeah,
So what was,
Yeah.
if you get sick every now and again, and it's just, that right there really fascinated me. He's been doing it for like a couple months now. He
Yeah,
hasn't got sick one time.
is he jacked out of his mind?
No, he's not jacked out of his mind. Just a regular dude. He eats
Yeah.
a regular amount of it. Just fucking, he'll pick up a raw steak. His joke is, he'll go to Whole Foods. He goes out, sits outside on the bench, and eats his lunch. Or freaking, he'll eat raw steak, couple eggs, drink out of a glass.
Can you pull this guy up, Colton? What's his name?
Raw meat experiment.
Raw Meat Experiment on Instagram.
There
yeah.
you go.
Let's see, Instagram.
He's just some normal California guy too. Like,
Of course, he's from California.
Yeah,
Freaking communist California. That's just a picture of a ribeye.
He's kind of goofy, but he's cool.
Huh. I have not heard of this guy before. Oh, gross.
And
It's
he
just-
eats the organs too, because
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
like vitamins and like,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Well, you have you followed Carnivore MD? That doctor who's big into the carnivore stuff, where basically he eats like a lot of raw
I
things.
haven't followed him, but I heard about like the primal diets and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
he's
because-
a big proponent of that.
Because all that stuff is naturally in it, and some of the things, because it doesn't taste as good as others, we don't eat anymore where they used to eat, and it's
Right.
vitamin sources. For instance, I'm feeding Zeus right here. He's on a complete Whole Foods. There it is, right?
He said his bio on Instagram says eating raw meat at Whole Foods every day until I die from bacteria.
Yep.
Seeing if I live for 5 days or 500 years. That's amazing.
Just kind of the fuck it mentality, like,
Yeah.
let's see what happens.
Dude, it's all over the place. I mean, Liver King, like you know, everyone,
I know who he is.
bro,
yeah.
like everyone saw some form of his video, whether it's him eating 60 eggs or whatever, raw eggs, or if it's him eating a raw bull testicle. Like everyone's seen his shit. Yeah, and I'm literally
I'll
like,
be honest with you, I try a lot of those things. I'm not gonna eat the testicles.
yeah, no, exactly. I'll try raw liver. I'll try like there's a couple things that like you might could get me to do that. Like
If
the bone
you scroll
marrow.
down right there, what was the one? I think that was pancreas, the funny looking one right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one right there is a little like, I'll try liver. I even do the kidneys, but that one right there, just the look on that one gets
Yeah,
me.
you know, I'm not that adventurous yet in my meat.
Yeah, we're working on it.
expenditures.
I want to start, well, and things like that too that I didn't think of. Like, they do it with sushi. Have you ever had, what's that steak dish they do? It's completely raw where they cut it up.
You talking about
Ceviche.
Yeah, well, the ceviche is one of them. That's when you like, but they cook that in like lime juice and shit. I think you're thinking of as a carpaccio. Carpaccio? That sound right? It's like a big ass, and then like thin slice beef.
It's like a salsa, but with beef. I think ceviche.
Okay,
is
yeah,
the
yeah,
one.
ceviche,
And they,
yeah.
But they don't cook. You can put raw in there, but
Yeah.
they do the acid and stuff.
Right.
Kind of.
Yeah,
counteracts
neutralizes it or whatever. Yeah. I've never had that though.
I haven't either, but these are things where I see these just
Yeah, people eat
random
raw
things
oysters.
on the explore page come
Yeah.
up, and I think I love a raw oyster,
Yeah, see, I've never had one.
and I love sushi, completely raw,
Yeah.
sashimi style, ahi tuna,
So-
yellowfin, all that, and that made me think. It's like, what the hell is stopping me from stopping?
Yeah.
Yeah, what is the difference? What's stopping me?
So next time you go hunting, this is my task from you after today. I want you to just when you're gutting whatever animal you killed, I want you to just grab a random organ and just bite it.
We'll try, but like I said, back to that. I feed him completely raw diet. He gets a completely raw food diet. He gets
Really?
a portion of, and like I said, we just went hunting, and that is actually what we did. The organs are going into his meals.
Really?
He gets the
Raw?
liver. Yes.
You like grinding them up or something?
Yep.
Or?
I put everything through the sausage grinder and everything like that. He gets, depending on what it is, I go to meat markets and stuff like that. He gets, I take chicken feet and I grind those up to like not super ground up, but just enough where I'm not worried
He's
he's going to choke at it.
not gonna choke on it.
He's a huge dog anyway. He could probably eat it, but once he gets a couple more months older, I'll feel comfortable enough he can chew it himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the liver and all that, I just run it through an old hand crank sausage grinder we've had from when we've tried to do our own meats in the past before. But yeah, I run it through there. He gets a certain amount of just regular muscle meats. Like I said, chicken feet counts as like this bony meats because there has to be a certain. That's where they get their calcium from, is the bones. He gets carrots, green beans, and other random ones. Right now, I think I'm throwing kale in there because kale's. But you don't throw a lot of it in there. It's mostly meat. It's called the Barf Diet, which barf whatever, but it actually stands for Biological Appropriate Raw Food Diet.
Huh.
And it's all just anything that dog you think is like a wolf would eat in nature, basically. The idea, he comes up on it, eats a little liver, a little heart, just nips at whatever he kills. When he gets older, the diet recommends getting like whole quail and things like that and feed to him. Like just throwing it with the feathers on it and all. And they just...
Hey, man, I mean, they would eat that shit if you let them outside.
Yes, but like you do it in a healthy way and stuff, and it's supposed to be very good for them. Like a lot of dogs, if you've ever had skin problems and allergies and stuff like that today, it's the same thing with a lot of the food we're eating, and it's the same thing where people say, I was eating so much processed food, these excess things, my body just couldn't handle it. Well, it's like them and like me. I personally try to eat somewhat healthy. I used to eat a lot of fried foods and things like that, but I try to incorporate I try to incorporate vegetables and a little bit of fruit as I get older, just for the fact of that. Eating McDonald's cheeseburger every day probably will kill me.
Yeah. No,
if not, it's going to give me diabetes whether I get fat or not, just for the cholesterol clogging and the amount of the glycemic index of how that stuff breaks down in your body.
Right. Yeah.
Which is things we were talking about. I never thought about things like this till I went into the field I'm in, and we learn about it in school.
Right.
People around us, we fry the vegetables, we fry the fruit,
we
fry it all.
Yeah, exactly. If
fried
it can be
gizzards,
fried, it is
fried
fried.
Chicken, fried okra, fried corn.
Fried tomatoes, yeah.
Fried tomatoes.
Green tomatoes, yeah.
Everything's fried.
Yeah, it's good though. But, I mean, so have you ever seen the documentary called Pet Fooled?
Mm-mm.
It's a documentary about the pet food industry. It was on Netflix and I watched it years ago. So I'm gonna probably butcher what it was mostly about, but the gist of it is that kind of same kind of thing. It's like talks about how the pet food industry. It's like there's like one parent company, and that one parent company owns all the other companies that make their dog foods. Like if you walk down like a grocery store, like all those dog foods are all just like a bunch of bullshit.
Oh, I don't doubt
like
that at all.
There's no governing body for their food. You know, like we have the FDA. There's no FDA for dog food.
That's correct.
So like they can literally take roadkill on the side of the road and use it in dog food, and like there's no standards
even for our
it.
food. I mean, they got that old quote, which isn't completely true, but isn't also completely untrue. The idea with I forget what it is, chocolate or something. I don't remember what it was. Something from some factory. I forget the names and the brand and everything, but a certain amount of the product. Every certain amount of product had a certain percentage of. Some of it was probably a rat. Some fell somewhere off that assembly line.
Yeah. Because
these giant warehouses and things like that, I mean, their checks and balances are not there to the standard to be able to.
Well, these companies like that, like so, I think I know what you're talking about. I think it was like Hershey or something like that. Yeah, and they believe that like a part of them's got like bugs in it and shit.
I remember we went through it in high school. I think we watched a documentary or something on it.
Yeah, there's like an acceptable amount of things, like just like there's an acceptable amount of arsenic in your water and shit like that. But it's just I mean, we have such good equipment that can measure those things too. But I guess. When you have like companies like Hershey that grew so incredibly fast at like a pace that was unmanageable, or like most companies that are growing to be big companies like Hershey and that have been around for as long as they grow at such a incredibly fast pace that they can't like slowly refine everything at one time. It's like they really rely on people that work there to refine their processes and make them better and prevent rats from falling into their vat of chocolate kind of shit.
Well, yeah, it's like you said, it's an evolving thing every single day because the amount of product they produce to where they ended up like today versus where they started, that quality control can't be to the same extent. It can't be to the same standard there. It's unmanageable.
Product to scale, yeah.
I can't.
Did you learn in school a lot about nutrition? Or like was that talked about much in nursing school?
Some of it in nursing school, some of it in our prerequisites. We learned a lot about like nutrition and stuff like that. Nutrition is a portion of our nursing school curriculum, but it's not one of the biggest portions.
Right. It just touches like surface level.
Surface level recommendations and things like that for if they come in for certain medicines. Just knowing to give them a mild recommendation of dietary modifications. But in hospitals today, every hospital has a dietitian. It's an employed part where their only thing is you get their medicines they're on, the conditions they have, their age, any problems, anything like that, anything that's going on. And then the dietitian goes to and basically constructs a meal plan or acceptable meals, acceptable foods and ways to eat them and recommendations for recipes and stuff for them to follow. Whether or not they follow it, you see 9 times out of 10 how that goes.
Yeah. Well, people can't change. Like, if somebody who's in there because they had a heart attack because they ate super unhealthy their whole life, and you're like, actually, no, you're going to have to eat vegetables with no salt on them and, like, lean meats. And they're like, no, I want a ribeye and a fried stick of butter. Like, that's what I want. Like, I'm not going to eat otherwise. And then it's like, well, it's either he eats and lives and then dies later, or he doesn't eat and dies a little bit later. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's the worst part about it is in the hospital and things like that. We have to give them specific diets for them to choose from, and like you said, they won't eat.
Yeah,
we're not, because of liability issues and things like that, and us knowing we can't even offer them things like that. So basically, we'll be forced to put a lot of people, if they tell us things like that, they will just, you want a feeding tube, I guess. I mean, at that point, what do we do? Because we can't feed them that. Of course, they're going to have an incident or an episode more than likely in the hospital.
Right.
And for liability purposes, the hospital's not willing to take those chances.
Hospital doesn't want to make people worse.
Yeah.
Do you feel like the nutritional stuff that you learned was outdated, or do you feel like it's like as up to date as it can be?
I don't. 50-50 loaded question kind of thing. I think we're. Have you heard the thing about the food pyramid? The food pyramid is actually fake.
Right.
I was gonna say it was paid, the farmers and dairy things like that made that to increase their profits for certain things that America was deficient in and stuff, and they were not making profits on the profit margins they want. So I don't know if you mean like that. I don't know, because people like these guys right here that eat a lot of raw meats, they don't eat a lot of vegetables, and the pyramid says you're supposed to have more vegetables and stuff like that.
Yeah, and breads and shit. And he's probably not eating a whole bunch of breads.
He's not eating a whole bunch of carbs at all.
Yeah,
he's eating raw milk.
But that was the bottom one. The bottom one was carbs.
The biggest one.
Right.
And supposedly, when you look at other things like the glycemic index and the gluten and stuff like that are in the carbs and stuff we eat today, like pastas, breads, and stuff, it's counterindicative that it's not healthy for you. So I don't really know. Honestly, I don't know what's what, so I can't really give.
Bro, that's the thing.
But the thing is, this makes sense, because how did we get this far before? We didn't make bread, we didn't cook foods, things like this like natural raw food diet, like a little bit of herbs, a little bit of meat, a little bit of vegetables. It's whatever was in season.
Right.
They didn't have the optimal thing where it's like
you couldn't get strawberries 24 months.
Yeah, they tell you to eat the rainbow on your plate right there, but hell, out in the wild, 9 times out of 10 they had green, and maybe something bluish, purple, orange. It was a funny color.
And then if you walk through the woods, how much of the shit there can you eat without dying?
Yeah,
like almost nothing. But how many animals can you like kill, eat, and then most of the animals if you walk through the woods, you can kill and eat.
Yes.
And that I mean.
And it's just a taste preference. It's just
exactly.
Well, another thing too is like we've lost the ability to like know things like that, or like I don't want to say know, but like sense things. Like, how do animals always know? They don't always know, but 95% of the time they know what to eat and what not to eat. Besides things like domesticated dogs, we've kind of made them,
yeah,
they're not wolves no more or anything like that.
Yeah, they go outside and eat shit.
Eat bark,
your
tire, whatever.
Yeah, whatever he can put in his mouth. Yeah,
he's out right now.
Yeah,
he's gone.
He's chillest dog. No, I completely like
I agree.
Okay.
I don't think it's not accurate out there, but I don't know what to believe, because there's different places out there. So which one is accurate and which one's not?
Well, there's vegan, like there's people who are just like all plant based. That's what you need to be eating, and then like raw plant based is the thing, and but then you have dudes that are
this guy
eating a pancreas in front of Whole Foods with a glass of like egg yolks. You know what I mean? Like what the
Slonkers.
Right, exactly. Like, well, my thing is like when you work in the medical field, they call it practicing medicine. Just like they like in the Constitution, it says the pursuit of happiness, because like. Happiness isn't something you get to and stay at for forever. And it's the same thing with medicine. It's like this is the best we know as of right now. So it's a constant pursuit of getting more intelligent and learning more about it, and trial and error. I mean, it's science. Medicine is science, right? So with science, it's trial and error. Like, what was science? Like, what information was held as fact 10 years ago was like bread should be the foundation of your meals. You know what I mean?
Yes,
And then
and
10 years from now, I mean, we learn
That's why
new
we
things.
have freaking, all the diabetes.
Listen, everyone knows what you're
diabetic
saying.
crisis we have going on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Misinformation, things like that, and
Yeah.
and it's just sometimes you don't even know. It's
not a-
not.
it's
Do
a
I
willingness-
blame? Is there
Yeah.
someone to blame, or was it ignorance, or what it was, and you just don't know because nobody really knows.
It seems like an unwillingness to learn, though, from people who, like, a lot of doctors will learn something 30 years ago, and they go, that was what I taught, or that's what I was taught, and they just won't update. They don't constantly stay up with the research. And or they get heels dug in on what they believe, and they go, no, you, like, bread's, like, you're supposed to eat a lot of bread, or, you know what I mean? Like, you're supposed to eat rice, pasta, like, all these things, and it's like, they don't update their learning throughout there. They don't stay open-minded to new ideas and
Yes.
look at things from different
And
avenues.
another thing about that is the idea of partial information and how it affects people. The biggest thing is what we're going to talk about with that, and we're talking about excluding the keto diet.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking people that think they can eat a fucking slab of bacon and put a piece of cheese in the middle of it and put another piece of slab on top, and that's called a bacon cheese sandwich.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's
health.
great. That's health.
Well, they cook it in butter too.
Yes,
Don't you
you
forget?
boil it in butter.
I'm taking. Yeah, that was that meme that went around about keto once. It was like
Also,
somebody
don't
having.
talk too much shit because I do cook my steaks in butter, and that is a phenomenal fillet.
No. I'm not. Listen. I would eat a bacon cheese sandwich, but for me to look somebody in the face and go,
Say it's healthy.
I
you
am
know?
the epitome of health. You know what I mean? It was like there was a picture and it was like a dude who was eating like a bacon cheese wrapped steak or something it was something ridiculous, and like it had mayonnaise all over it, and it was like, I'm finally taking care of my health. It's what?
Well, it's things like that. Partial information. Could cutting out carbs be beneficial for some people? Yes. Could cutting out all carbs for the rest of your life be beneficial for you forever? No. There's a fine line to play with everything.
It's a risk assessment too. Like,
and there's the thing about
enjoyment.
it is, what is the idea of like healthy? Because there are a lot of cultures out there that have been living like we were talking about. They don't live as long as other cultures, but they've been surviving. They have traditions and things like that. There's different cultures that do different ways. Like, I don't know, Asians for some reason, not to be like, they seem to live the longest, look the healthiest, and they eat rice every day, but they also eat raw meats, things like that. Pho, and they eat noodles and things. Well, they're not, but then on the other hand, we have like, I don't know, it's still carbs with like Italians, they eat a lot of pasta stereotypically and things like that. And then Spanish people eat beans, tacos, and stuff like that. They all have different life expectancy, but they're all surviving at their own rates.
Right.
So who's trying to tell them their tradition is wrong because another one's just a tad bit healthier?
Right, and then there's things like with as far as food goes, like, do you want to just eat raw meats and like a little bit of vegetables and a little bit of fruit for the rest of your life? Like that, like to me, if you're eating once a day, even if you're just eating once a day, it's something you're gonna have to do for a long period of time. You should probably enjoy it, and especially like right now, like to be a dude like that, and like how do you go out to eat with friends? You know what I mean? That's part of like it. Like it's nice to go have dinner with friends and like, dude, like
what's socially acceptable. It's just there's a multifaceted in what goes into that type of
right. Like I don't want to give up. I don't want to do keto because like occasionally I want to try a piece of cake or have a cookie. You know what I mean? But like I'm not gonna do it every day. So it's all in moderation.
Moderation is everything, and a lot of it too is health is like what I want to say with that. What is healthy to you? How long is healthy? Because certain people are like, there are people that smoke cigarettes that are freaking 90 years old, and they're gonna look you dead in your face and tell you, "Fucker, I'm 90 years old." Who's gonna tell me that this is killing people? Yeah. There are old people like that. You got great grandmas, and things that they lived that lifestyle. They worked in factories and terrible working conditions. They breathed in smudge, and hell, you got people like us out there and call us pussies.
Right.
What line do we toe there?
My grandfather's 91, turns 92 this year. He is like, he was in 2 wars. He was born in 1930. Like he was born right at like beginning of World War I. Like was a teenager during World War II. Fought in like Korea, Vietnam, and he's like, he's 91. He smoked tobacco, but he also smoked corn silk. Like, I mean, he was like drank growing up. Not like crazy or anything like that. Like he's had cancer and all this stuff, and he's 91. Like, what am I going to tell him to do?
Wait, well, that's what
I can't.
How
tell
do we
shit.
tell people this? Oh, your lifestyle is not heavy,
right?
Like healthy, and it's.
When that man picks up a muffin, I go, "You do you, boo."
Yeah, well,
you do whatever you want to do.
Whatever the fuck you're doing is working better than a lot of people. And I couldn't tell you why, and that's things. It's so I say it all the time when my having a conversation. It's just an imaginary line in the sand we draw.
Right.
Because what we consider and where the next person draws it is what a lot of times people get in arguments over. They can almost be arguing
splitting hairs.
but they don't understand that they're just a tad off than the next person, and you're mostly agreeing.
Right. You can argue about the individual, like the last 5% of the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like you're 95% of the in agreement, and you're arguing about the 5% you don't agree about. Like you've been hunting before. I'm assuming you've killed pigs before.
Mm-hmm.
Like at a huge pig in the wild, like the meat that comes off of them is nowhere near as big as the meat that you get from a grocery store. Like from a pig from a grocery store. Like the shoulder that you get in a grocery store.
Well, feral hog feral hog and grocery store pig are not the same animal anymore. They're just like the idea of a wolf versus a dog. They're bred completely different, which...
Well, but like they're clearly like the food that they're being fed in the grocery stores. Like I have friends that can't eat meat from a grocery store. What is that shaking noise? We good? Oh, okay, sorry. I heard it might have been your
my leg, probably.
You want to play with my fidget spinner?
No, I was just nervous.
Right.
What is that? Nervous leg syndrome?
Yeah.
Shaking leg syndrome?
Yeah, you're good. But like I have friends that can't eat meat from grocery stores because something to do with whatever medications they're giving them or whatever food they're feeding them, but can eat wild meat just fine. Of that same, like can eat wild hog and nothing, and then has terrible gastro and I guess like stomach problems from eating pork from grocery stores.
I couldn't tell you on things like that.
Well,
I really could. I do believe they're fed lots of things. But we're all, because like I said, I have cows and things like that, and I see the way people feed cows and stuff. Our cows are just kind of left the hell alone. We're not purposely growing them.
You're not
organic,
feeding them corn every day.
Yeah, we're not purposely growing them organic, but then 95, they're just fucking out there eating grass, doing cow.
Yeah, being cows.
We're not pushing anything on them. So, but
Right.
we're not purposely trying to do that. We'll throw them some little sweet feed and stuff like that, which would make them, I guess, not organic or whatever, however they want to classify.
But you're not predominantly feeding them that. And I feel like and most people would agree with this, is like the meat factoring farming that happens. Like when you ever driven past, like, I don't know where you go hunting, but where I go hunting, I pass some of the factoring farming places where you pass like chicken houses. Mm-hmm. That shit ain't normal.
No. Well, first off, the chickens are all white, and they're not supposed to be white chickens.
Right.
The fact that they don't get to see the sun means they have no pigmentation in their coloring and stuff like that. And
those are sick animals. You're eating sick animals.
Yes, it is. But the thing about it is what's happened to that. I don't blame the farmers. I don't blame the chickens. What I blame is the American people, because at the ultimate day in a capitalist society, our dollar, where we put it, drives the force behind every movement out there. Mm-hmm. Because what happens is because I get in this argument with other people is when they talk about the cost of things and stuff, buying organic food. I was like, if you like that, buy the organic food, the free range food and stuff like that.
Purchasing power.
It is more expensive, but unfortunately, that's why these farms are so predominant in the grocery store. Everybody wants the cheapest thing out there.
Right.
Your money motivates. I don't want to call it
other business. Right, you're voting with your dollar on what businesses get bigger.
Correct.
You're essentially buying stock in that company.
Put your money where your values are at, because if you don't, eventually you're not going to have any options for it, because they're not able to survive.
Right. I mean, do you know who Joel Salatin is? He runs like a self-sustaining like farm. Like he doesn't do like that monocrop agriculture where you plant like one thing. He has like wild pigs that is like that they use. I don't know. It's like a super. I say innovative, but it's not very innovative. It's very old style. But he has this very like true to like what Mother Nature would be like with animals. Mm-hmm. And one of the things he said is like way back in time, and I'm gonna probably butcher it, so I apologize. But basically, people used to spend 18% of their household income on food and 9% on healthcare, and then now it's 18% of families spend. I'm sorry. 18% of the household income is spent on healthcare and 9% is on food.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you don't want to say correlation is causation, but I mean
it is. It
like
really
people
is.
are eating shittier food because it's cheaper, and because of it, they have shittier health problems.
That's correct.
I mean, that's why predominantly the people who have the most cases of diabetes and like typically are the most overweight and stuff like that are poor people. That's crazy, because back in like our poor people are fat. Like back in the day, like to be fat you had to be rich and wealthy. And now our rich people are the ones who are jacked out of their minds and like built like Greek gods, and our poor people are the ones who are suffering.
It is really crazy, like you said. It's just a series of trends and stuff like that are reciprocating, because what's going to happen is I feel like what happened was it used to be, like you said, fat was a fad. Like it meant it was a sign of something. You had extra. You could eat extra and things like that.
In a world where everyone's starving, that's an amazing thing.
Exactly. So it was following a trend. And now the fact that they figured out it's healthy and it's hard to obtain, the rich don't want to be that. And now, eventually, I think it is coming back. You're seeing people take more. If you follow Instagram, you're seeing more and more people do the gym thing.
Do weird shit like this.
Weird things like this arise because of that. Because of the transition and the cycling of how people think about life and stuff. I don't know how to explain that if I was better with words, but yeah.
Right. But like, I mean,
they take
gym
charge
thing,
of their health, and they go to the gym and everything now because they see the flaws and the errors.
How big were gyms 20 years ago? I mean, they were. I mean, like they had them, but like it was like the YMCA, and then like maybe a couple of big ones in like high populated cities where like. Like California, I think that's where LA Fitness started, what I mean, Los Angeles. But so like that was probably a big one, or it was starting to become big back then. But like now,
the thing too is like the idea of office jobs and stuff like that. It used to be an office job meant you were, you're the boss, you're CEO, you're something. It used to mean something else. You were the head honcho pushing the papers around to make sure everything's all good and everything. Well, now a lot of people have office jobs and they're just they're not like they're not what they used to be. Because, for instance, there used to be a lot more manual labor jobs. Everything was produced by the sweat off someone's back, even though they were underpaid positions and things like that. It's like that's kind of switched now.
We've had this trade-off.
Yeah. Whereas you see, like, especially with skilled labor today, people were used to shit on it, like the garbage man and things like that. Not necessarily just a garbage man, for example, but like we said,
plumbers,
skilled labor. Yeah, people think skilled labor like plumbers, electricians, things like that. That wouldn't
people
have been
who work
much.
on AC.
Yeah, 20 years ago they were thinking it wasn't going to be much about it, but you do things like that. They make more money than a lot of these college-paid positions do today because of just I can't put a name on it. Whatever that turnover is on a cycle of life, that supply and demand. If you're not a lot of people going after it, eventually to draw people back to it, you have to have a factor, and that's increasing the pay and the demand in them, and so that they need more work, they pay more, and overall make a lot more money now.
Well, your family's in the air conditioned business and like household appliances. I mean, household appliances have changed over the years, but the technology's damn near the same. You know what I mean? Like it's changed a little. Am I wrong? I mean, like you get more computers and stuff, but the machine. I mean, it's still like they use Freon to make things cold. Like the microwave hasn't changed too terribly much in a long time. I don't know how much you guys do with that, but like like those people, you have to have people that know how to work on those things because appliances are so expensive. Like 20 years ago, that was a thing, and it's still going to potentially. I don't think it's not going to be a thing in 20 years. They're still going to be breaking.
Correct, and this circles back to the idea what we started off this conversation. Every parent wants their child to be a doctor and things like that, but what they want by that is the old school thinking of the doctor makes a lot of money. They want to be there's a prestige behind being a doctor, but they want them to be financially secure too, and there's a lot more ways to do that nowadays. I don't want to say there's more opportunity. I think there's the same amount of opportunity, but I think there's more ways to become wealthy today than there used to be. More avenues to pursue and max out that way of something. Like, for instance, going into a trade or something like that, and eventually, even if you're not a damn thing, you go into it, you're an apprentice at a company, you work your way up to just a technician at a company, an installer, something like that. You get your roots, you go on the side, you start doing side jobs, you own your own business slowly, then you're at the top of the food chain again, and you have an avenue now to make more money and to be fairly well off. Whereas used to, that wasn't the idea. Those type of were dead-end jobs, and they've been proven not to be, but that's the turnover. That's like I said, with the turnover, how everything in society goes. Because like I said, there are doctors now that don't make a lot of money because they're going to have to, everyone started doing all these med schools and stuff like that, and they used to just have to come from rich families, but now they give loans. But unfortunately, the flip side of that is you have to take your loans out for that. You're in debt for forever, and that eats away your profit of what you're making. And with more and more people applying to med school and stuff like that, that's also why it's getting more and more competitive. At the same time, that's also driving out, if they don't open up more spots, guess what they can do if there's that many people applying? They have no reason to make their schooling cheaper.
Right. Yeah.
Driving the price to the roof even more.
Right. And then you once you get out of you pay a lot of money for school, you get out of school and there's less jobs, or you have to work harder to make less money because there's more the market's flooded with those things. And that's typically when you have,
I don't know how to call that, but that style of logistics is what I'm getting at.
Right.
What you said.
You when you have a ton of doctors like then all of a sudden those doctors need people to work on their plumbing, and they need people to like do their and all of a sudden there's a lot of doctors. Well, there's not as many plumbers, so those plumbers can charge whatever the hell they want because they go, it's I'm gonna get to you next week and this is what the cost is gonna be, and they're like, well, I don't want to pay that, and it's like, okay, call a different plumber, and they're like, oh, this is the only one in the area. Now you're fucked.
My brain's very scattered, mine too, but that brings us to a couple different things what we just said.
You're good,
right
man.
There.
We got plenty of time.
With a bunch of different doctors, you have more doctors in the field. They're all having to work over the same amount of work. You see a lot more health problems encouraged nowadays, and the idea of medicine, big pharma, and things like that is diverse because it wasn't the money pit it used to be. And then getting back to that, when people devote their lives and stuff to being a doctor, and they put in that sacrifice to there, they lose the ability to learn things that used to be common knowledge, such as household plumbing, DIYers and stuff like that.
They become very focused.
Honeydew things. They can't do anything outside their line of scope, what they've been taught, because it's really taxing and stuff like that to be a doctor. I mean, we all understand that. I mean, hell, those people are the upper echelon, smartest of the smart. Most of them.
Supposed to be.
Supposed to be. It's the way it's designed.
Yeah. I mean, we both know that, like, I mean, I've said it on previous podcasts, the problem is it's all made out of people. And there's just like there's great people doing one job, there's shitty people doing that same job. And so, that's the problem is you get oversaturation in that job market. There's such a thing as the good part about when you get a ton of doctors in a field like that is it encourages competition, and then new innovation comes out of competition. So like somebody will come up with some kind of new thing because, if there's, I don't know, like let's just say there's cardiologists and there's 300 of them and the market only needs 200 of them. Well, now out of those 300, there's going to be ones in there that are like, they go, okay, I've got to come up with something brilliant and I got to think a lot, and they consume themselves with it because it's either that or, waste that 8 years you spent in school and all that debt you have, and now you're going to go become a plumber because you need to make more money.
Well, there's that, and there's the flip side to that. What's going on, a lot of things like, just for an example, things like fraud, Medicare fraud. They have more problems they don't have because you have so many of them out there. They have to have extra problems to make more money. People have to charge things. Just for example, Medicare fraud is something where people, there's a governing body to keep that in check nowadays, but it's going on all over the place where they order certain doctors, certain medical facilities, they'll order extra tests, knowing for the most part they freaking really don't need that, but there's a freaking 1 in 1,000 chance that they might, need it. It could possibly be that, so they'll just charge it for the heck of it instead of going through the more than likely test first and then coming back, all right. And then on the flip side of that is they do that to make money, and then on the back side of that is the liability. That if anything were ever go bad with insurance and every now suing doctors at the rate they do, it's really difficult. You basically are covering your ass in everything. You're saying we did literally everything that was presented, because even if there's 1 in a 10,000 chance it could have been this one thing, and you went over all these more probable things like that, lawyers and things like that, and insurance companies, they'll sue you for that, because what we were talking about, there's precedent there. There's a precedent. It's been there before, so why didn't you explore that option, explore that route? And it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't type situation, and it's hard to draw that line, which makes the idea of fraud right now in medical hard to pursue, hard to catch, and stuff like that, because there's a large amount of fraud, because we said there's an oversaturation in the daughter. There's not an oversaturation, but there's a saturation higher than it's ever been before. And to make the type of money everybody wants to make after they devote their lives, they want to make the big bucks. Every single one of them wants to drive the Ferrari.
For the least amount of work, too.
For the least amount of work, correct.
Right.
And they're so every person that does come in, they're getting the whole sheet. The whole sheet of diagnostic tests. We could run this just for the hell of it. Yeah, why not stack that?
When in reality, they probably only needed to run 2 or 3 of them.
Correct.
Right. And so you're getting billed for running 20 of them.
Yeah, and if it wasn't the first 2, you could still run it after you figure out, well, nothing looks wrong, and you're still saying the problem. All right, we'll run the next handful.
Or maybe those doctors are incredibly busy, too, and they go, I don't have time to see you. Like, if these tests don't show anything, the ones that I think they're going to show something, and we have to do this again, like, now I've got to see you twice when we could do all of it at one time. But it's this weird balancing act that they have to do. And I mean, dude, it's a job I have no desire to do. Because, like, I know when I was in the hospital a lot growing up, like,
well, that's
trying to figure out what was messed up with me.
Yeah, well, part of being my nurse I've saw is, do I want that headache, or do I, say you still you have to answer the doctor like that, which is, everybody wants to be their own boss. But the liability and the headache of actually going farther and being a nurse practitioner or something like that,
Is
I
the-
want that on my neck? Is the profitability or
Where's the return on investment?
the return on investment, is it really there for me?
Right.
Where I could work for somebody, get my my fill, if you would, of what I like out of the working in the medical field and everything like that, doing what I have planned, and then go on, like we said earlier, like go out and do some plumbing or something on the side,
Right.
and you still make a lot of money, and then you're your own boss with not maybe less headache, but the extent of the headache is not a person dying or I'm getting sued.
Right.
It's like, oh fuck, I cut the wrong pipe.
Right.
Like,
Right.
you know,
And
something simplistic like that.
Now, one of the things that when Garrett was on the podcast that we talked about, he was saying like once you get out of high school, and this is something I agreed with him, and it made a lot of sense to me. Was you should focus on interning for a couple of years because when you're like fresh out of high school, like you haven't done much for most kids.
The idea of trying with college and stuff like that, you have no idea what you want to pursue in college yet.
Right. I mean, but they want you to. They go when you get out of high school, like, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? And it's like, bro, I don't know. I was just hanging out with my friends, having a good time, like trying to get C's so I can get out of here. And then like, you know, now I guess I'll go to college because you know that's the path that everyone in high school, all the teachers are like, oh, well, you're gonna need this for college, and then you're like, oh, you get groomed to go to college, and it's like, well, what am I gonna go to college for? And it's like, oh, I don't know, I was good at math, and they're like, okay, well, go to finance, and maybe you have no interest in finance.
That's correct. I do believe it. Well, it's like turnover of things. The idea of going to college used to be only for richer people and richer children and things like that. Going to college used to be, like you said, later in life investments for the education, extending education and things like that would be necessary. Doctor's not a good one because it's such an extensive thing and it takes so much of your life now. But like,
It's like you have to know that's what you want to do.
yeah, but
you
like,
have to feel incredibly confident that that's what you want to do.
but like accounting or something like that is good. Finance and stuff. You'd take a desk job, you'd push papers for somebody, you'd watch maybe for an accountant or something like that, and you'd see the interest, you'd get an idea of what they do, and you'd have an interest, a similar interest, or the idea, I can do that job at least. Maybe not even an interest, but the fact that you goes, I can do that. And then you'd pursue something like that.
Right.
And it'd be much more beneficial to you, whereas you're throwing a shot in the dark right now. And a lot of these professions everyone wants to go in the profession that requires a lot more dedication and hard work. And they'll get halfway through all this hard work, get burnt out, and hell, they don't even give a shit about it to begin with.
Right, and but they didn't know beforehand.
But they didn't know exactly, and it causes a lot of things people see, like mental health things, because realistically, you have this crisis right there in your head, and you go, well, what do I do next? Do I just shit it all down the drain, or do I just fucking suck it up and freaking get the money? Because at the end of the day, people say money and isn't everything, but you got to have it to survive. You got to figure it out. And you damn sure don't want to waste it.
Right.
So half a degree doesn't mean shit.
Right.
Half a degree doesn't mean shit.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my problem with the way college is set up is like people go to school, they say the traditional route is they get a bachelor's degree in something that they think that they might like, having never had tried it, and then they go to school, they get out of their degree, they have debt, and you know at that time too, you watch your friends that have done other things, they're buying new cars, they're getting married, they have girlfriends or they live with, or they're moving out, stuff like that. And so if you follow that same path, next thing you know, you're starting your adult life out of college with a bunch of debt, and it feels like they drop you off in the rat race. Everything points you to be like on that rat race, and it's like, that's part of the reason I wanted to start a podcast, is because I wanted to talk to different people like yourself and just hear the different ways that things are, the different ways people choose to live their life, the different ways that people go, okay, well, when I got out of high school, I didn't want to go to college because I didn't know what I wanted to do, and then I went and did this, or I took this other route. You didn't go straight to college right out of high school, did you?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, but I was gonna go probably anyway. But like I said, I to a different route. Fresh out of college, I went to the University of West Florida to play football, and I think fresh
out of high school. Yeah,
fresh out of high school. I didn't think I even had. I think I had a 2-week summer vacation, and summer training started.
Straight into college.
The summer football conditioning started, and they were like, we moved in before anybody else. We were there over the summer and stuff, getting after it, just working out, running, conditioning, studying film and things like that. So I probably would have still went to college the traditional way, but I didn't even, when I did football, didn't really have a choice. They were like, all right, it's football time, boy.
Yeah. Well, so what did you go to school for initially?
Pre-med.
Pre-med? Okay.
I literally went for pre-med and stuff like that straight out of high school. I also played football, which did not mix well for me, which led to that extremely, what do I call it over?
Tired? Overworked?
That was definitely there, but just mediocre doctor,
Yeah. Because you were so focused. You had too many irons in the fire?
Yeah, you couldn't focus on one of them. Not that I ended up actually, giving it a whole lot of focus after that. But as soon as I got out of it, it's the idea of burnout. Then I just wanted to do nothing.
Right.
After I was done with football and everything. So the dedication to the studies wasn't there for a while either. It was just freaking going through the motions because I was just like, all right, I want this whole weight lifted off. I want the relief of just being
college
one single thing. Like I said, the idea of going to work, coming home, and doing my thing.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to college, you have to go do your thing, go to work, do the schooling afterwards, which you don't get paid for, and then lose out on the free time you have, and that just leisurely just
you don't get to see your friends.
Blah. Whatever you want to do, whatever it may be, how you relax or spend your leisure.
Yeah, I my advice would be for somebody that's fresh out of high school is go try different things. Go work at a place. I've talked to a lot of people that have.
Well, my view on it is the last 2 years of high school aren't even needed.
Fair enough.
Complete waste.
I agree, but I think you still need your high school diploma because people that's like a minimum that people look for in the hiring world.
Well, I'll be completely honest with you. I've watched this thing on Instagram. They do want a high school diploma.
Right.
But out of a lot of jobs you've applied for, how many have just asked the simple question, do you have the high school diploma?
Yeah.
How many of them ask, can you show me your high school diploma?
Right. No one asks you to see it.
No one.
Right. Same thing with college.
Same thing.
You went to college. How long did you go?
Realistically, depending on how you take your classes and everything, all a high school diploma means is you can half-ass add, read, and write. Because there's a lot of people that got their diploma, and I watch them read and write, and hell, they can't even read and write.
Right.
So hell, whether you have it or not, the basic skills are what they're wanting you to know. Can you at least add? Can you at least add on your hands and fingers? Which we're even losing that, but I'm really those type of things. I mean, I think the last 2 years too we should
direct kids.
Well, not even direct them. Just let them free roam for a couple of years amongst themselves and amongst the world, and then the idea of 18 years old starting. They are an adult at 18 years. 16 years old, it's the idea of OJT, but it's not OJT. School's done, and they're just
on the job training.
On jobs out there trying to figure direction in life. The idea of what used to be shop class, things like that.
I feel like I've said it, but like I'll say it till I'm like blue in the face. Like high school sets you up to go to college, and I feel like instead high school should be to set you up for what you want to do for the rest of your life. And if what you want to do for the rest of your life means you have to go to college, then that's a different thing. Then they should know that, and they should feel confident leaving high school what they want to go to school for. Because the amount of kids that get into college and change their degree path halfway through is like staggering. Like most people that go to college end up changing their degree path. Correct. And it's like, well, maybe if high school did a better job of showing people what they're interested in. I just think the curriculum's old as hell.
I've never believed the government's fixed a damn thing. So schooling being ran by a government thing and you asking that won't fix anything. It'll just cause more problems. At the end of the day, the individual is ultimately responsible. But by us school being mandatory, we don't give them the opportunity to explore these options because they're in school working better to be better engineers, doctors, and lawyers and things like that, which are the upper, what we talked about, they're so-called the upper echelon type jobs, where, everyone doesn't need to be that, but because it's a government-fueled thing, we're also in a race between other countries and stuff with our literacy rates, our how... I don't know what those are called, but how smart we stagger against other countries and stuff like that. And that's what the basis of a lot of these things are, just fake numbers they're putting out there. Yeah, they're just trying to boost their statistics. It's like sports. They're boosting their statistics by doing this.
Right.
And
making it look good on paper.
Yes.
Yeah. And they don't talk about how fulfilled their citizens are is the problem too. The metrics they use to measure stuff like that. When you were talking, I thought I had this thought and I wanted to ask you this. When you have kids, are you planning to have kids? One day?
At some point, yeah.
Okay. You do want to have kids.
I like children. I love children.
Yeah.
I'm not
do you want them to go to private school or what are you going to do for schooling for them?
Thought
about it much?
I haven't thought about it too much. There's a flip side to both coins though, just a thought about it. Going to a lot of private schools.
Making a lot of noise with that thing right now.
Thought I was using it for what it's for.
No, well, I bought this thing on Amazon and I thought it would be loud, but like, because a lot of people like tap on things or stuff like that during the podcast.
Trying to keep the legs steady.
Right, and that's what. But like, there's only a couple things on here that don't make noise, and like some of them they're like, and like I just I just try and do the quiet ones, something that keeps my hand moving, but like it somewhat backfired. You're good though.
But there's pros and cons to private school. The grit, I'm gonna call it the grit. Children won't have the same grit going to private school, if you will.
Well, yeah, for sure, because you're not like
there's
you don't have the people that can afford private school are going to automatically be able to raise their kids to a higher standard than the people that can't afford to send them there. And
I don't even want to say it's a higher standard. A lot of them will raise to a better idea of what they're doing, but it's like some of them too are the nanny idea. So there's a lot of differences and things right there where they'll be out of touch with reality and what the common world for them, what their common world is realistically a school, because the common kid, the common parent and things can't afford to send them.
There's not a good mix, and I feel like when you go to private school, there's not a good mix of poor people as well, and you need to be able to understand. Like, I don't know, I'm conflicted, and I've talked about it on previous podcasts with other people. Is like I went to public school, you went to public school. Like, I feel like there's value in that because I learned to talk to a variety of people. And like, if you go to public school, you're limiting the amount of people that you can talk to. You know what I mean?
Some of it to me is the goody idea where everything's so that's not the real world. I don't want them to get used to a bubble style environment.
Right.
I think a lot of private schools encourage which in a perfect world, there's nothing wrong with it, but we don't live in a perfect world.
Far from perfect.
That bubble ideology. There's going to be kids private school, no one gets the hell beat out of them. You go out in the real world, somebody you talk to them wrong, they're going to fucking punch you right between the eyes.
Right.
That's not right. I'm not condoning that, but that is the world we live in. Where if they go to things like
there's reality, and then it becomes a boxed-in environment in private schools, and it might not be at the same level.
I don't encourage it, and I don't think it's right. I think we should, but the fact is, I don't want them to graduate and be what we're talking about now, even more out of touch with reality, because I want them to understand what the world they live in, because they're going to have to adult in that same world. Right. Whereas the world we lived in still isn't even going to be the same thing as your child. It's progression of just how life works. Right. And if we try and raise them to what our reality was, the world we lived in, we're doing them an injustice. I mean, it happens all the time, I see.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. We didn't have NFTs when we were growing up.
Well, correct. And it's thinking about like how your parents want to raise you and stuff like that. Mom, Dad, that's not the world today.
Yeah, you can't play video. Remember? Did you play video games growing up? Like you can't. Like when you play video games growing up, like your parents used to yell at you probably and be like, "You can't play video games all day." And then now there's people who play video games all day.
Yeah, Twitch streamers that literally make more than my salary in a month.
In a month they make more than what I make in a year by a lot.
Yeah,
by a lot. And it's like,
but that's the thing too, is what we were talking about is. They're not better ways, but there's more ways, what I said, to be rich today than there ever was. There's more ways to be rich.
And there's more knowledge out there. like I talked about it with Garrett. There is so much information out there. You just have to you just have to be curious. Mm-hmm. You can learn anything. You just have to be curious.
One thing I was talking about with my dad, there's a lot of luck that goes in the world. He's a very proponent of hard work and everything like that, and I do believe the harder you work, the more chance you increase your chances and things like that.
The luckier you get, the harder you work. Yep.
Yeah, but there's still a certain amount of luck that can't be just. There are people out there that will put their realistically, life like that. Life is gambling to a certain extent. Everything's a gamble.
Yeah.
And really make terrible gambles. Just absolutely the odds of them coming through, but they win on them. There's somebody out there that just happens to somehow win.
Right place, right time.
And this is the type of thing where once they win, how do you go about telling, well, that really wasn't the best idea, as they're sitting there with their winnings, whatever that may be,
right.
This casino style, a pot full of fucking chips, coins, money, whatever,
yeah.
or successfulness in whatever their life adventure was that we might be talking about, which was a terrible gamble. But
right. Well, that's why you got to have good principles, teach good principles to kids, because like. Something I talk about with some of my friends often is you do one thing like you do everything. Like if you're really like if you're a messy person, that's gonna bleed out into every part of your life, because you do one thing like you do all things. And if you're a neat freak, same thing. It's gonna it's gonna bleed out into everything you do. And so my thing is like those people that might just happen to say the right thing to the right person at the right time. That is going to be they put on a facade at the right moment, and they might win. Like if you could graph their life, it would be like there'd be one giant high point because of just random circumstances. But the rest of their life isn't going to be that way if they continue to be who they were when that thing happened. And like I'm trying to think of a good example, but like. I mean, everyone knows people that are millionaires that make a ton, like I guess, professional football players. They put a lot of work into it and stuff like that. They get a lot of money and they spend more money than they make, and then they get out of football and that was their peak of their life. They don't have they don't take that same principles that they applied to football and use it in other things. And or they weren't when they got into football and started making millions of dollars doing it, they didn't go, okay, this is only a temporary thing. They were very much they only looked at what was right in front of them. They didn't look down the road of their life. And
well, it's something is like the unfortunate thing about that is very similar to like a doctor. It goes into a lifelong sacrifice where some people are lucky and more talented than others, but a lot of them have to work every day. They have to get up, work out, run, condition, practice their craft, and things like that. But unfortunately, like being a doctor, a lawyer, you cannot have that profession for forever. Right. Until you want it. You can't. It is it's one of the extremely most short-lived professions you'll ever have that make things like that. And again, it's like one of those things, the gamble. They're gambling that they make it, and they do make it, they make it big. But they can't, the things that got them there, even if they do keep practicing it, was physical grit and mental dedication and stuff like that. But it's not to anything else besides football.
Right, and they can't transfer that.
It's never and two, it's a sacrifice, and once it pays off, it's the idea that it's after sacrifice, it should be a reward. It's a constant reward system because they've sacrificed, and they never know when to turn the reward system off. Or I rewarded myself enough because they're being paid in such large lump sums of money at one time.
Well, it's like Michael Jordan. Like he's not broke. You know what I mean? Like he took the principles and stuff like that he used, and he transferred it to something else.
I'm going to give you 50-50 on Michael Jordan, though, is one of the ones where I wouldn't say that hard work. It's a gamble. One of the ones. He was the best. He was the best at his sport. But as far as his finances after that sport, he's been very well taken care of by Nike that has invested into him. Not necessarily he's done anything. He's just been... his likeness, he's been able to command his likeness and keep it, like the idea of not selling it off for a lump sum. But you don't realize keeping it, and they always have to continually pay him. One good decision led to a lifelong where he's been...
But wouldn't you say that that's a stipulation of his willingness to understand things in the moment? Because when he was playing basketball, he wasn't just solely...
Sometimes it is, but I'm not necessarily sure Michael was one of the ones to understand that. Michael was dedicated to the game and stuff, and he liked the idea of playing basketball, being the best at basketball. But the fact that he was the best created one of those butterfly type effect. I don't know.
Yeah, like a snowball effect.
Snowball effect where it just rolled into it. Everybody wanted his shoe. Everybody wanted it. And Nike came to him. They made a thing. And he made a deal, which was a good deal, which a lot of people are gaining on now. But they didn't understand back then. That they just... The knowledge wasn't there. Somebody would come to you with an XYZ number.
Right, but he looked further down the road, is what I'm getting at. Yeah. Michael Jordan wasn't one of those people that looked at something very surface value. Because like I'm assuming what shoe deals were back then, it was, hey, we'll give you $500,000 right now if you come out with this shoe. And they didn't do any kind of like royalties to it. And there's like there's bands... It's the same thing in the music industry. They're like, hey, we'll give you $12 million for a record deal. Mm-hmm. And to some band that is just doing local gigs, you offer them $12 million, and they're like, oh my God, that's $12 million. But it's a short-sighted thing. And the ones who, like, there's bands that they're like, okay, if they're willing to spend $12 million on me right now, but they have this other contract that it doesn't sound on the surface as good. Like, I forget what band it was, but there was a band that I've never even heard of before, and they were offered $1 million record deals, and they turned them down, and instead opted for this one that was like, we'll give you $15,000, and then you get royalties. Mm-hmm. And the royalties ended up paying them way more money down the road.
It does, but it's also on the flip side of things I think about, like investing and things like that. What you can accomplish initially with $12 million, but you have to spend it wisely.
Right.
You have to invest it wisely.
Right. And most people don't want. If
They
you
blow it.
right.
They blow it because sometimes, just depending on who you are, like you said, making the right decisions. When having those things, you can invest it more lump summally.
Right.
It's probably not a word, but lump summally.
It works for me, man. You say whatever you want.
Invest it,
This is your
and
episode.
you do it right, it'll work out and end up bringing even more revenues than the royalties would make. But on the flip side of that is just what we talked about with athletes. They don't stretch their payout because they don't get paid in a stretch. They get paid in a lump.
Right.
And what do you see when you get paid in a lump? You just see a bunch of fucked on zeros.
Yeah, and all your
I
friends
just
around
had
you are buying diamond-crusted Rolexes. You got to get one, too.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas if you either or, whether it be you actually invest your lump sum versus you get the royalties, you don't have it all to spend at once. It's just slowly trickling in and you're slowly spending it. Yeah, you live a normal lifestyle the rest of your life or even above normal lifestyle.
Right.
But you
can bring it closer to you, Cody. It can move.
I realize that, but I keep moving.
You keep forgetting. Yeah. No, you're good, man. You're good.
It's I honestly
Okay.
I would prefer to have the $12 million up front because if you invest it wisely, the $12 million can be, you can have revenue, if you will, or royalties coming off all of your investment for $12 million worth.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, start off and live better than you would by living off the royalties for something like that. But
you could,
it is,
but
it's just a personal opinion because I think either way, it's not really a wrongdoing. I just see it's a mindset behind a lot of people because when they get the sum of money, instead of spending it wisely, they blow it and then they blame it on somebody else. Where they know some of these things to start with, and it's just a matter of like having a loan on your house, whether you take a 15-year or a 30-year mortgage and stuff like that. You pay less in a 15-year mortgage and stuff than you would a 30-year mortgage. But it's sometimes, can you make the payments, or if you take the 30-year mortgage, you could make the payments with the 15-year. Do you buy an extra place? Do you buy two houses?
Right.
Then you take 30 and then you buy your rental house. It's just sometimes making smart decisions.
It's a multifaceted, but like what I was gonna say is like, so
it depends on what you want to do.
Every really really rich person, for the most part, like there's a few exceptions, but most of them made their money because they invested in themselves. And
Correct.
the biggest and highest return on investment you'll ever see is in yourself. So that $12 million, you could take that $12 million and invest it in like an S&P 500 index, make 11% per year and everything like that. Or you could take that what would be the surface value $12 million and then change it to a surface level of like $10,000. But then the investment can be, you're making 400, 500% return on investment, and it's going to compound over years. I mean, there's different ways. There's 1,000 different ways to skin a cat when it comes to stuff like that. But you ever heard of like a hockey stick? Like whenever they talk about investments, they talk about it as like a hockey stick effect. Like it's slowly, gradually increasing. And then all of a sudden towards the end, the compounding interest makes it shoot like really far up, and it ends up shaping like a hockey stick. Mm-hmm. Well, I think that everything in life is that way. Whether it's going up or it's going down. If you don't brush your teeth, that's a hockey stick thing. Oh, like at the very beginning of not brushing your teeth, like it's going to just slowly, and then one day your teeth will rot out. But and I think exercise is the same way. If you never exercise, if you just stop exercising today, it's going to slowly build until next thing you know, you're just incredibly unhealthy. Mm-hmm. And I think everything is that snowball effect or that hockey stick style graph. And I think it's the same thing with health, with brushing your teeth, with like everything you do in your life can be that way. You just have to go, is this helping me or hindering me? And it's hard to know. Hindsight's always 20/20.
Well, the best thing about it is knowing your sense of knowing yourself.
Right.
Because if you can't, what we were just talking about, what I was saying, if you can't handle the idea of having that money in front of you for forever and actually using it wisely, if it's tempting to you to be spent on luxuries and things like that, it's going to be much better for you for the royalty system. And the royalty system having the royalties does pay off for forever, but the royalties is a gamble. It's a gamble. You are gambling on yourself. Yeah. It's the same gamble, whereas money in fronted, you can have some live off that. Royalties can...
Depends on what you want to.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Do you want to make one album for $12 million and be done with it? Or do you want to continue making music for the rest of your life? And then which one more aligns with your goals?
Yeah, it's what is it when you look to yourself? You got to know what you are,
within.
what you want,
Yeah.
look within,
Yeah.
and know what your goals are for the future, and know who you are as a person. Whether
Be
you may
introspective.
actually lie and
Right.
say, "Oh, I'm not going to be like this anymore," but knowing, like, hey, the best thing for me is sometimes, not to have a certain situation a certain way, and I just looking into yourself and knowing things like that, watching yourself after you've seen yourself do certain things over and over again, sometimes with good habits, bad habits, and things like that, and just an understanding of self.
Right. Well, I mean, that's what I think that the high school should point you in a better understanding of knowing yourself, because it doesn't do a good job right now. And I think that if people can, the more self-actualized people become, the better society will be. And you should steer more people to be that way, because you want people to do what their personality traits are best. Like, not everyone should have a podcast. I mean, a lot of people have podcasts, but not everyone should. Like, if someone's an introvert, that's not the thing that's going to be, they have to force themselves to do it. Like, for me, this is relatively easy. Like, it takes a lot of work to do a bunch of other things that don't just come naturally to me. But like, having conversations, like every time you and I have ever talked, like normally I'm like, okay, all right, we got to go. Like we always, like, conversations could go for hours. And that's always been easy for me to just ask questions, be curious, and talk about things and openly discuss ideas.
Well, you said that in something. You said not everybody should have it, and I said not. I disagree and don't disagree. Not everyone is going to be successful. I 100% encourage everyone to try everything because it's certain you'll learn more in failure than you ever learn in success. Right. So failing in certain things, a lot of failures will actually end up leading you to what you want to do, more so than just having. Sometimes you have interest in things that just come easy to you, if that makes sense. Whereas like other times where you failed at a bunch of things and you just start to see
what do you want to be good at is different than what's easy for you.
Yes, and sometimes, because like I said, you want to be good at the podcast, but you're not good at it, and then at that point, you have to either work at it or you acknowledge what you can build upon are your skill sets.
It goes back to what you were saying earlier about being introspective and looking inside yourself and what can I get better at?
Yeah. Can you get better? Because some things you have to realize in this, not that you can always improve yourself, but how long is it going to take you to be, I hate to say this, but to not be subpar in what you're trying to achieve? Like, what is the status quo level you need to get to be quote unquote, if you're trying to be successful in it? Is it one of those things that can be, rather it should be a hobby versus, something you should take as your main gig, you quit your day job type thing for? And there's flip sides to that. A lot of people, some of the richest people in the world got rich off things they started off as hobbies because they just had general interest in. And some people in the world absolutely get nowhere with hobbies, but at the same time they'll live on less money just doing what they love because that's what they want to do, how they want to live life, which is that talking about looking introspectively, like what is it you're wanting, what is it? Because when we throw a lot of people out there out of high school into the job world, living in the I'm not anti-capitalist or anything, but we live in a capitalist society. The fundamental thing for your success is
money. How
much money do you make? How financially successful are you? And if they're not as financially successful as someone else, despite doing what they love, some people get depressed about it. Like they get upset with themselves about things like that. And it's one of those introspective things where you have some hippies that live in fucking vans on the beach and have absolutely living their hearts out. Could care less. And they're absolutely happy. Introspectively. There's nothing wrong with either of them.
There's depressed rich people just like there's happy poor people, right?
What do you want? Yeah. And is it more important to do something you're happy at, or is it more something to do something you're so good at? Mm-hmm. What is going to make you happy?
Great questions. That's what I'm trying to find out.
The introspective thing where it's just, and failures bring you more to that. And it's not necessarily like we just said a financial failure. I fucking completely hate this job, but I make a great ton of money at some of them. What do I do next? Do I quit this job for a lower paying job and completely change my lifestyle that I've grown accustomed to by spending XYZ because I make XYZ? But do I go be happier at another job? And a lot of people face those. These are just decisions that no one knows the answers to. They're internal questions you have to ask and have no way of.
Right. Well, so
nobody can ever really.
So let me ask you this question. Let me ask you this question. What do you want out of life? Overarching theme, you're on your deathbed, you look back on your life, what does it look like to you?
I like the freedom thing. But there's a certain extent where I do want to make a certain amount of money. I like the retire on the countryside on a mountain somewhere thing.
And do what? And what age kind of thing? Like what?
I like the I say do as little as possible, but just not the rat racing. Like you said, have a garden. Yeah. Got a couple cows.
Yeah.
Fucking do the thing. Retire out and just like live as simplistically as possible with a certain amount is gotta have money to buy your countryside first. Buy your little spot of something. But yeah, just wake up and be like, what the fuck do I gotta do today? No, I gotta milk the cow.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have it's just that type of living, it's simplistic.
So, okay, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. This is something new I'm trying to do where I have like specific questions I want to ask individual guests. So, have you envisioned your future and what does that look like and why?
Future.
Like kids, wife. You said you want to retire. We talked about retirement for a little bit. And when do you want to retire?
I'm hoping I have the ability to retire. I'm shooting 50.
And why?
Well, for the most part, my family doesn't live that long. So, if you retire at 65, you're teetering that line. Hell, you might die before you retire in my family a lot of times. But, I don't know. Just, I don't want to work forever. I have a late start doing the schooling thing and how I've took my life and everything. So I've got to do a lot of things I've wanted to do. And have had to put a lot of things I wanted to do on a back burner that other people haven't. And, as far as the kids and relationship, wife, and all that type of thing, I don't really know. It's not one of the things I would like it, but at the same time, we're going day by day, see what happens, and just do what makes us happy, because you can't force things. Had a couple of things happen, and like I said, I just went through different situations, tried to force things, not tried to force things, had to, just basically, it's just introspectively what feels right.
If
it doesn't feel right, even though it looks right, if it doesn't feel right, it's just not going to be right.
Right.
It's one of those things. It's hard to actually put a dollar sign or a number value or a yes or no to. It's just you go through it, and it's just something internally. Just if it says it's right, it's right, and if it's not right, don't feel bad about keep on chugging.
Yeah.
Because, like we said, there's different routes of happiness for everybody. Sometimes you don't even know what you like till you experience it. So I don't really know. Yeah,
I started to touch on this earlier in the podcast and I forgot to say it or conversation with somewhere else. But I would
like to say,
go ahead.
I don't want to be goal driven. I would like to be more free thought, just going. Like I said, everything with getting the degree, getting to where I'm at, getting to where working, making money, doing things like that. I've had projects before. I'm very project oriented with my free time. I need something to usually. Either I completely do nothing or have a project in mind I'm working on to where I'm trying to get to the complete point or the finish point. And
but what makes you think that's going to change when you're retired?
Well, that's the thing. I'm getting past that because every project, as soon as it's done, it's gone. If I'm done with it, I sell it at some point. I get and I start a new one. It's the idea of chasing the project. Sometimes it's never the end goal.
Well, it's like project, if you get to the goal that you aspired to a year ago, you should create a new goal. And, don't just get all the goals done and then just coast. No, it's constant doing things. We're built to do things. I mean, it's what people do. Innovate. Create better things.
I agree we're built to do things and everything. It's just, I don't want there to be, I want to do what feels right and just kind of experience that and just absorb it more so rather than putting the things that feel right on the back burner going towards every goal. Because like I said, like I said, went to college football. I was struggling for a starting position on there. I worked out all the time. I didn't go to parties. I didn't have a lot of things. I come out of that. I go into med school. I don't have it. Everything's been just very fast paced for me. When I do have free time, I don't have necessarily the largest amount of it. Same. I do have a lot of free time. I do have more free time than other people. That's just what I was talking about, that line in the sand. Sometimes I don't think I have a lot of free time, and then I see other people, and then one of those things you feel good to, oh, fuck, well, I got more than them, so I better just get back to it and enjoy what I have. But just tired of putting things I want to do on the back burner for some, my goals. Now that I've reached a lot
You're trying to rebalance your life.
Yes, yeah. I'm trying to not just friggin' work for the future and live more in the moment.
Right.
Because this part has been getting
to this point. If you do too much, right, if you do too much of future planning, then you're not living enough in the moment. It's a balance of the two.
Well, it's one of those things, certain goals, once you devote so much time into getting there, you become lost when you are there.
Right.
So it's just enjoying the journey to get to them. You have to have some goals. Like you said, you can't just freaking coast for forever. Having less goals and enjoying the process of getting there, though.
Right.
You don't have to freaking just do it as fast as possible. Get there, get it done, and get on.
Right. The life's about the journey, not the destination.
Yes.
Yeah.
The idea of enjoying the journey instead of just being freaking keep the train rolling. That's what I was talking about by retiring a little earlier and stuff like that. Just which is actually, when I think about it, is, make a shit ton of money, be able to retire. Even though if I can spread it out, whatever, but enjoying the journey.
Yeah.
I just don't want it to be a rat race every day, which is why I talked about retiring to that.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, I've worked with my dad since I was probably legitimately 6 or 7, actually working.
Yeah.
And hell, it's always been a rat race for money, because the thing about a small business is if you're not picking up the phone, if you're not answering
then no one's doing it.
No one's doing it, and they're calling someone else, and the last person they actually had do it's the person they're calling next time too.
Right.
So you're losing out on not doing it today, you're losing out on business tomorrow as well.
Right.
So, and those are things where, I appreciate it, and at the same time, I've lived this type of lifestyle. I'd like to live a slower lifestyle, less stress, less headache, and type of thing where family-owned business, like I said, no one's there to do it, so you're on call. We're not on call anymore. We only work 5 days a week, but we literally used to work 7 days or 6.5 days
to build the clientele that you guys have now.
To build the business that we have, yes.
So the point I was going to make, though, is that when you were talking about what you don't know what you want to do until you know what you want to do, like whenever I've talked to anybody that's like been influential to me, like that has a lot of like honor, integrity, and stuff like that, that's what they always say. They said you never know what you want to do for the rest of your life until you're doing it, and then you know what you want to do, and then you go, okay, this is the thing. And then, like you said, if it doesn't feel right, like if you're doing a job and you loathe it on Sunday night and you love it on Friday night when you're not there anymore.
The idea of you enjoy the weekends 2 days and the weeks 5 days. If you enjoy the weekend more than the week, it's not right, and that's what
you got to balance it.
Trying shooting for you instead with the idea of, because everything what I talked about earlier was being financially motivated and everything. Everybody wants to make his money, and that's been the motivator for a lot of the things I do. You just work your ass off, get the money, go. Right. Well, there's more to life than that.
Right.
A certain part of it,
money
is
a portion.
Slowing down. Yes.
Money is a portion. It's not the entire portion.
Yeah.
So, next question: what personality traits do you value in other people, and then do you possess those traits? And if you do, what do you do to increase them? So start with the first part of that. What personality traits do you value in other people?
Oh, wow, that's a deeper one.
Yeah. Well, they're all deep, my dude. Welcome to the podcast.
Wow.
But you can say whatever you want. You could say that you like people that cook with cheese. I mean, this is up to you, man.
Yeah.
Or butter.
Definitely like cheese. Fucking love me some butter. Butter's good stuff, man. I don't know.
Probably integrity.
Well, I was going to say honesty. Whether it be integrity. I mean, a lot of people... Integrity... A lot of people have integrity, but... The idea of it is it's not always there in a lot of people. People make mistakes, and whether it's on purpose or not, some people can be
malicious.
With not necessarily the thought of being malicious, but just the idea of, man, that's really good for me, and not thinking about the consequence to others. And sometimes I like honesty, because just saying that, I just like, if you do maliciousness, no, I completely fucked you and I just didn't mean it.
Yeah.
But the fact is, I do recognize that I did it, because it happens, and a lot of people
we're all people,
deny it and stuff like that. Whereas it's just, I feel like it's more realistic for someone to actually be honest all the time versus.
Yeah, but unfortunately, right now, somebody who's honest all the time is a friggin' like diamond in a haystack, or was it?
Also, they're going to be called a jackass.
Yeah, to a certain point,
That's the people think that some of it's where if you're honestly saying some of the things, you're hurt a lot of people's feelings. But I don't know. Honesty is say what you feel. Don't
respect it.
Literally say what you feel. Don't think what's best to say. Say what you feel.
Now, do you think that you possess that same trait?
Not all the time. No, but it's something I think is one of the ones I do strive to be towards, because I have a lot of friends that do things that I think they could do a lot better, and I do say that. Like I said, I'm trying to say more. Instead of keeping the comfortability, say what I think is right, and say it honestly, and just kind of put that out there. Not necessarily say it hateful, but saying that there's definitely about that. I'm trying to say the right thing to try and guide people they see as sometimes negative in an aspect, but you're realistically trying to be positive.
Mm-hmm.
But you're trying to be realistic. You're just trying to put them back on a forward moving path with a lot of people instead of just sugarcoating some of the things and saying, oh, like that participation trophy type idea.
Mm-hmm.
Just being realistic and honest in what you actually think about the things they say.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's. I mean, honesty's for sure. It's a great thing when used
with,
properly.
Like, integrity. It comes with a little bit of integrity, because if you're honest, everyone will know what you're about, and if you're honest and make a mistake, they'll recognize it as a mistake instead of we said, maliciousness. Even though it might be malicious, they'll understand it wasn't out of that type of mindset.
There's honesty in used in the right way is what you're really going for, because you can be incredibly honest but be a jackass because you're just like super rude to people. Like, people show up and you're like, I don't like that shirt, and it's like, okay, that's not good honesty. Like, I get it. Like, if you don't like that shirt, if that's something you feel like you need to say, but like, there's a specific level of honesty that's fucked.
Yeah, but just some people, when they make bad decisions in life and stuff, and sometimes in risk of hurting their people, oh yeah. Instead of no, but you just setting setting your friends straight, and
you
being
should have bought that Ferrari. I agree. I'm glad you did.
Yeah,
now you're $100,000 in student loan debts and $100,000 in a car payment.
Well, example, like you said, student loan debt. Somebody that maybe went to school for 4 or 5 different things, and I'm going back again for this one. And it's like, no, you fucking shouldn't. You should sit down and figure out what the fuck's going on with your life. And that these are type of things where it comes off very jackassery, but you're trying to say it it is really a pro and be better for them to actually
it's out of
follow.
Love. Right,
Yes, it's literally something out of love that might hurt feelings.
Right.
Not like you said, your fucking shirt's ugly.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not being like that. But I mean like that. But.
My next question, we've already talked about it, so we can just glaze over this. I want to say it to have it on the podcast. But do you think about retirement, and what does retirement mean to you? Which we kind of already talked about. You want your little slice of heaven. You want to be able to have that freedom. Freedom,
like I said, because right now, me chasing the money is me answering to a lot of people, answering to their literal calls on service calls and just how to do it and things like that. I would like to be able to self-sufficiency too. I like the thing we talked about in the initial part of the podcast, the idea of sustainable farming and stuff like that. And being like this, just things like that interest me, and growing your own little food and stuff like that, being things that we have lost touch with in today's society as the common person.
Right.
Where it used to be literally common in the common person 50 years ago.
There was no such thing as retirement 200 years ago. It was just you constantly working for your next meal, and
the idea
working as a community.
The idea of business and commerce and everything used to be the things you had a bad harvest that year, you don't have enough to eat, so you trade off your work to get something to eat.
Right.
It not used to be something like this right here, as big as we've made. I don't know what you want to call money, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have to slave your life away for somebody else's business to make money, and where you could be doing things for your own. For instance, like we talked about the hippies and stuff like that. Just being happy and finding your own middle ground to happiness and what it is, because so many follow this model where everyone gets a job and they work it, what we talked about, but they could be miserable, but they still have to make the money.
Right.
Where if they pulled back their lifestyle, they wouldn't have to. They could work a different job, maybe not be miserable, and finding whatever it is, your median, wherever it lies, to be happy and be self-sustainable.
Yeah.
As long as you don't ask somebody else for. If you work for things, that's fine. But as long as you're not having to ask somebody else for something, whatever lifestyle you live, I think is completely okay.
Yeah.
However you want to live it.
Like, you want your friends to be happy.
Yes.
Like, regardless of what job they do or what job you think they should do, it's you want them to be happy at the end of the day.
Correct. And I don't want them to depend on it. Your happiness shouldn't depend on anybody else.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Okay, next question is, if money and opportunity weren't factors, you had all the money in the world, all the opportunity in the world, what would you do for work? And why? You have $100. I'll phrase it in another way. You now have $100 million in the bank. You don't have to worry about money no more. You have all the connections. Every connection in your phone is somebody who will answer the phone if you call them and ask them something. What would you do for a living?
Oh.
Maybe sell yachts. I'm just kidding. Be a yacht captain.
I don't even. I see. This is something. I don't know what one thing I could do, because it's in moderarity that I find the best little bits ever.
It's a good word, moderarity. I've never even heard that before. I like that though. I don't even know if that's how you use that.
That may not even be the right word, but like
I get it. Moderation. It's moderation.
Yes, moderation, and a little bit of moderation. You got to do a little. Like if you like fishing and you love fishing, you still get fucking bored if you fish every single day, especially catching the same couple kinds of fish. The idea is
variety is the spice of life.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't know what one thing I could do if I had.
What hobbies would you pursue? Because you only have a limited amount of time.
Yes.
Everyone's got the same 24 hours a day.
About. I'm like, well, what of my hobbies is my favorite? Honestly, I'd probably fucking just work on side by sides and trucks and shit.
Like you'd have some kind of. I imagine you'd have some kind of like farm, where you take care of your own animals, you do your own thing. You have like a very like a subsistence kind of like it's just me and my friends, and we work this farm. We make sure the cows go to the pastures they need to go to, and then like one of the side by sides we ride on a normal basis broke, and I'm gonna go buy the part and fix it myself. You want to be reliant upon yourself and your team.
The farming thing is the lifestyle, but if I had to say you're saying like a job thing forever, I'd honestly still just work on it. Like I said, I like. I mean, I had those trucks and stuff like that, and the side by sides and stuff like that. Those things I work on, the things that I like, I love working on, and I even working on it for other people. Mm-hmm. I just find interest in it, and the fact that everyone's little customizations and builds and stuff like that. Like I could work on race cars and stuff too. Just little things like that to tinker with.
Yeah.
Because you'd always have different ones, different ways, different recipes for winning your competition, whatever it be, whether it be your rock crawler, your mudder, your race car, your freaking drag car.
So you'd probably be
all
more
those automotive sports things.
You kind of have your own shop, I imagine. Then
yeah,
kind of like your own thing, but not do it as like a for profit kind of thing like that.
Well, no, you said I'm rich. I'm just gonna take what the fuck I want to. I'm not gonna work on your Mazda.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to work on something cool. I want a race car. It's gotta be something just different, just to stimulate the mind to see if we could make it happen. The idea of, like I said, some of those things 20 years ago, our parents didn't have some of the automotive sports. I don't even know what you'd call that.
Yeah, no, that sounds right.
Like with Garrett and stuff like that. He's got the Jeeps and they do the rock crawl and shit. And some people are race cars. I mean, hell, look how fast race cars are today. Hell, you got people doing fucking drag cars out there that can literally hit 2,000 horsepower. They run like 3-second quarter miles.
Yeah, some stupid stuff. Yeah, it's just super fast. All right, I know that was kind of a crazy question, but it's something I've asked myself, and that's what I asked myself that kind of question, and that's how I ended up starting a podcast.
I wish it would have been something more like with my doctor said. I'd just fix people for free, but I'd probably work on cars.
No. Well, I mean, it's fixing something.
Yeah.
You want to be a fixer. See, well, for me, that's what got me started with the podcast. Was I thought about what would I do if I had all the opportunity and money in the world, and I was like, I would probably do a podcast where I could just call people and be like, hey, you want to come talk to me? We'll record it, and then other people can listen to it. Like I love this medium. I love being able to practice my free speech, you know what I mean? And be able to have conversations that are open and honest. Like, I feel like you and I would have had this conversation if we had set the circumstances to do it. But like, life is so busy that it's hard for us to, we've never had an opportunity to sit down and talk like we're talking right now. Never.
Yeah.
And it gives me an opportunity to plan
it's just
for it.
Other people, it's just conversation. Pardon me. I'm like I said, I'm scatterbrained. Hell, I'll just go to the one topic and come back to the other one.
You're good, man. Dude, that's
what would happen.
Yeah.
And like you said, for basically how we talk in real life, just all over the place.
Right.
Sometimes this is more organized, though, just organizing your thoughts in a direction, how you're like
and getting you here to do this, where this is your only focus. Otherwise you would be, doing something, researching something on a computer. Like, we're completely solely focused on communicating right now, and like going back to things that people used to do, like eating like organs and stuff like that, raw meat. Like, conversation is a huge thing. Like, that's what people did before TV and radio. Radio was just a form of having people communicate to a lot of people.
It was the only form of communication in the majority of our human. It was the only form of communication in the majority of the human civilization. Whereas now it's getting to be it's not the minority, but it doesn't hold the grasp.
People aren't as good at it. Yeah,
it doesn't hold the grasp anymore because we don't talk to as many people. We're more antisocial. We text more. We email more.
You practice communication, but you practice a subpar version of it.
Well,
this is the most natural. Well, it's kind of unnatural way to talk, but like having conversations like this is what feels like you should be good at this. Well, and too many people lose this art.
Yeah, it's the idea too of like professional communication. You have to communicate with certain people a certain way. You just can't come off as you are because you just get looked at differently. I don't see the point in a lot of that. I see that just creates fakeness all around. That's just
right.
the idea of being proper, I guess, if you will. Like I said, the way I'm talking here and the way I talk other places is different, and the way I talk here and the way I'm talking in the hospital is different. These are all three different voices.
But it's you.
It is still
you.
me,
right?
But it's just the way you go about talking is what you talked about. The genuine like form, your true form or whatever, is not always seen today between.
It depends on your audience. It really depends on your audience,
the people
right.
you're around and stuff, and it can't not necessarily that it's It can be one person in the audience you have to appease to, like being at work, you have to be professional for your boss, the doctor, or something like that.
Right.
And that's what I'm.
But you get around your best friends and you're like, "What up, bitch?" You know what I mean? Like you get around them and you're like chill and you're like, "All right, let's have a drink." And he says some shit like, "Yeah, man, I'm changing my degree for eighth time." And you're like, "Listen, you're fucking stupid. Stop doing that." Yeah. But it depends on the audience.
It does depend on the audience, and that's what I'm saying though. But some people that don't get the opportunity to be around you in other audience, because like I said, for example, the one person in the audience, your coworkers and stuff like that, may have absolutely no idea who you truly are at work, because you always have to talk in that certain type of environment, voice, and what you're allowed to talk about and things at work.
Right.
And that's the type of thing where it didn't used to be that. Everyone just kind of naturally talked around. There was a little bit of respect, but the world's different today. It's just different.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone wears different hats. So, next question. And this one should be easier, I think. If you could give one piece of advice to your younger self, what would it be?
Just one? Oh.
Well, yeah, like one form of like, I mean, I know there's probably a lot of things you'd say, like don't eat that taco that made you really sick the next day.
Trust me, bud. That random Taco Bell on Fowler, do not eat the chicken quesadilla from there. That's the only time I had food poisoning, and that did fuck me up. That was one of the worst days of my life. Let me tell you. I thought I was immune. You know, hell, this guy's eating fucking raw chicken. Meanwhile, mine was cooked, and it still fucking gave me freaking hell. But like a real, actual, better, deeper advice. I don't know, something like you don't have to listen to everybody. Honestly, God, you can have your own thoughts. Because I was very much so the person that, you know, everyone that told you something was telling you something for the better of you, and which it may not have been maliciously, but everything doesn't always. You can have your own thoughts on certain subjects. Because I would not follow the leader, but I'd follow somebody in an example where you don't have to follow everybody. You can make your own path. Like what we just talked about. There's a million more ways to make money today. There's a million more things you can do. Chase the happiness portion a little more. Don't have to just follow someone else's formula.
Don't go through things that are a hollow pursuit.
Yes.
Go through life and doing something.
What we talked about earlier. You just chasing things.
Chase fulfillment
rather than things you've seen other people and you think is right. Just follow your idea of what you feel is better for you.
Right.
Because, like we said, at the end of the day, you just want to be happy. And you'd like to be rich and happy, but, you know, find that middle
everything's
ground.
a balancing act. And if a lot of money is a part of your balancing act, then, you know, so be it. But sometimes that makes the scale tip over.
Yeah, because I see both sides of it just living my life. I got bums and I got people that work 7 days a week, 24/7, and that is their only means of fulfillment is just being freaking productive. And, you know, it's just, like we said, a balance between that, because I personally don't see myself wanting to be at either extreme. Somewhere in the middle. But most of the time I want to be happy, but at the same time, I don't want to be a bum. Like, you know what I mean? Like what I said, if you're able to find a lifestyle that you don't have to ask anybody else for something, you're probably doing it right. And if you're happy. Right.
Well, I mean, I think with that too is you still need to have community and people around you. And
you do, but you shouldn't have to. I don't believe
you don't want somebody hanging over your head telling you what to do. You want a mutual respect with the people that you're working with.
Well, a mutual relationship. It's just not something you don't need them. Like if you don't have that connection anymore, your life is
ruined.
Yeah,
you don't want that.
You don't want it, whether it be socially, financially, resourcefully. Like I said, if you're the sustainability, just having somebody else that runs the cow part for you or something like that, or if you just have a friend you go to for advice, you should have a little bit of everywhere, a little like with the moderation, a little bit in everyone, a little bit of things like that. One person, you should be able to be happy by yourself, but you should also want to be happy with other people.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like some people value their happiness, base their happiness on other people. The people around them. They base their happiness, how happy they are, and how happy the people around them. There's a lot of people like that. And you want to be able to figure out internally what makes you happy.
Yeah.
Like I said, don't follow other people's models all
Right.
the time.
Right, because you at the end of the day you have to make the decision for yourself. Because you can't if you made all the same decisions as someone else, it would probably end you up in the same spot. And it's, do you want to end in that same spot?
It's exactly right. Ask your question: is the end point they're going to end up at the point I want to end up in as well? If
Right.
not, you need to make a treat. If you want to make majority like that, you still need to make a change, because if you live it exactly like that, you're going to be exactly like them.
Right.
And if you even want to be close, that means you live most of it like that, but there's still something in that you have to
Still
change.
variability.
You can't follow the blueprint if that's not where you want to end up.
Right. Cody, that's a great spot to end this on, unless there's anything else you wanted to talk about.
You already asked me a lot of things I wouldn't even think about.
Yeah.
You already got my brain.
This is what, yeah, you done for the day? You did too many brain push-ups?
Yeah, brain push-ups. Man. too much stimulation. I'm more of a laid-back guy.
Yeah, well, I had a good time. It was fun to
Absolutely,
me.
I did too.
Yeah, I feel like too many people don't get to have conversations like this, and to me, if people can be a part of this conversation just leisurely, you know what I mean? If they get 1% of value from it, then I think then that's slowly pushing the needle in the right direction, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like you said too. Just revising the classic form of communication, communicating with each other.
Yeah.
Really naturally, without any type of anything holding you back, whether it be the work environment, like you said. There's nothing here to distract you from what's going on besides the conversation.
Right. It's the sole focus. And otherwise, the last time you and I talked, you were like on your computer and there was another friend there and we're all like conversating and like, we were talking about, I don't even remember what we were talking about. I think it was politics or something stupid. And the next thing you know, like
Probably.
we all have our ideas and we're competing and stuff, but when it's just me and you. I mean, Colton's here too, but Colton's really quiet.
Fuck Colton.
Yeah, Colton's here, but he's not here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I feel like this is when I started doing this, I just felt like this was the thing. Like when I was like, okay,
That's what I'm saying.
hold on to this. Yeah, you need to hold on to the microphone.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying right there. It just no reason, rhyme about it whatsoever. If it feels right, do it.
Yep.
Just that.
And maybe next year it won't feel right anymore.
It very well could be, but that's the thing. Sometimes it could be in moderation. You take a break, it comes back, and it feels better than ever. You feel rejoiced. Sometimes.
Reevaluate. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, my dude. Appreciate it. And we'll have to do this again sometime if you ever want to. And
Absolutely.
wish you the best in your future endeavors. And I'm excited to see where your life goes, my dude. Because I've known you.
Me too.
Like
I'm ready to take it off.
I've known you longer than like almost any of my friends because we played t-ball together when we were like 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And you were much shorter. So.
Still bigger than him.
Yeah. No, that didn't take much. So, all right. Thanks so much, Cody. Bye, everyone. Hello, everybody. This episode is over, but if you would like to support the podcast, you can head on over to the Instagram account to Somehow We're Adults and use the link in the bio to donate to the PayPal account there. All of the money that is donated will be used to make the podcast better. But either way, I'll keep it going. Make sure to follow the podcast where you listen to it for future episodes of Somehow We're Adults. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you all for listening, and I'll see you next time.